All right, we're live on Facebook, so whenever you guys are ready to start, go ahead.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for our inaugural hiring and retention subcommittee meeting. We're happy to have Helena Callis here. She's going to be our liaison with human resources with the city of Brookhaven. She's got some information to present for us. But before we get started on that, were there any questions or issues from review of the documentation that we provided last week? Anybody's got any questions or comments on so far?
And Helena is going to do a high-level overview of that data, so just know that as well. So I just wanted to mention that.
Looks like we've got pretty good attendance tonight. So yeah, I know we're all really busy. We don't want to take too much of y'all's time. And there's another subcommittee meeting starting right at 7 o'clock. So I think we'll go ahead and get rolling with this. Helena, you got a PowerPoint, correct, that you're going to go over?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and start pulling that up to share. Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So I wanted to start off and just introduce our HR department. We are a department of two. So Rick Stone is our director of HR, and then I am the HR generalist with the city. Like Tawana had said, I'm going to just show you the information that was sent to you earlier. And if we have any questions at the end, we can definitely discuss that. And I know William and Tawana have a place for discussing the data and everything. So this is the city employee city demographics, and it's broken down into full-time and part-time employees. So I know that our employee handbook has been sent to you guys. We are looking to review that this year, though there are several policies and practices that are in the employee handbook that pertained to this project. I have the job posting and selection part of the handbook up here as kind of an identifier, and that's on page 16. On page 4, you guys will find the at-will in the EEO policy, and the employee practices can be found on pages 12 through 15. Though we did send the entire employee handbook to you all as a reference of what is currently as part of our handbook. This is the area, the places where we currently post our positions. That second one there, the GLGA, that is a government local website that almost all of our sister cities and counties go ahead and post to. So that is that reference there. And LAA, if I know I used an acronym there, that is for the American Latin Association. So that is there. We've attended a few of their career fairs in the past. So this is a snapshot of what our hiring process is when an individual, when either a new opening becomes available, or if someone may leave and we're looking to backfill the position. This is what our hiring process looks like.
Just curious, could you go back a slide?
Sure.
Got a quick question. What's the typical time frame, from a standpoint of, from application to potential hire? Is it time to fill maybe like 30 or 60 days?
About that. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. For instance, a police officer applicant takes a little bit longer because there are additional due diligence steps that are required for that position.
Okay.
This is a snapshot of what the demographics look like for our open police officer position. And the data has been pulled from March 1st of last year to March 1st of this year. We also did include the demographic information in the information packet to you. That was all of the data that we pulled from our applicant tracking system, PAYCOM, from 2017 to present. Before 2017, that information was managed manually. And then this is the 2020 turnover data for the city. And this was the 2020 new hire data for the city. And that were all the slides that were put together.
So I think it's okay. I think, you know, with the amount of data that I sent out, I tried to send it out about a week in advance just so that everyone could have some time to review it at your leisure, and also realize that it was a holiday week and we had spring break. So do recognize that everyone may not have gotten through everything, but just based on what you have and based on what you've been able to review so far, and then just based on what Helena just covered, we do want this to be a two-way conversation, you know, so would love to hear everyone's voice, you know, before we end the call this evening, just to, you know, number one, just to see what questions you have, what stood out to you from the data received. Did you find any outliers in the data? So for instance, is there data that you'd like to see that you haven't received? Helena is our point of contact, so she will be working closely with us throughout this journey, and happy to provide additional data and context. But this was really a starting point. But would love to hear from everyone. So I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, I hate to put people on the spot, but I'm just gonna pick a person and then I'll just go around. Looks like Charlene is volunteering, so we'll start with Charlene.
Good evening, everybody. I have a question about the information that was just presented. The top of the slides, I can't remember if it was the second or third, was a breakdown, I'm sorry, was the positions by demographics. I'm wondering if there's a breakdown of what types of positions those were connected to. I'm sorry, I didn't hold the image in my mind, but it's like maybe the second, third, it was very at the top of the presentation.
Do you mind pulling it back up, Helena, if you don't mind?
Not a problem at all. Is the slideshow on the spread or
Yes.
on the
And this is
screen?
yes, this is it. Is there a breakdown of what types of positions these numbers correlate with?
So this is citywide. If you were looking at more like specific by department, I can work on getting that data for you.
Yeah, I was just curious. I know you mentioned later on in the presentation about the new hires and things like that as it pertains to the police department. Excuse me. And I was just wondering, so using the first one as an example, just wondering of the 33% of the full-time female, how many of them are officers? How many of them work for maybe in planning or zoning or parks and recreation, that kind of a breakdown.
Okay, I can work on getting that data for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
I think for me, I would also be interested to see what the breakdown is by ethnicity, demographic, and gender. So maybe as I'm thinking about, like, do we have a high amount of Black females or Black males? And I think that just kind of helps put some things and can, easy to read for me, and maybe separating the full-time from the part-time. But I think just being able to look at to see what that breakdown is.
I can include both in that additional data that I'm pulling.
Ruben, what's on your mind over there? Uh-oh, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know about the interviewing process. Is it a group of people to interview? Is it one person? How does that work?
It's normally a panel interview, though depending on the role, it may be a one-on-one interview.
Mm-hmm. And the ethnicity of the panel and the composition of the panel?
That would depend on the position.
Okay.
Because normally the hiring department would make up the panel, so that would depend on the position that we would be recruiting for.
What may be helpful, Helena? Oh, I'm sorry, Ruben. Go ahead.
I mean, I would like to know. Yeah, I would like to know the composition of how to. Yeah, do we have information of data that would let us know those composition of the different panels, and so we could look at those?
Okay, I can work on that data.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, Helena, it may be helpful if you pick some specific positions and say the panel for this position was A, B, C, D, F, G.
Right.
And I think that would give them a good sample.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, good.
You're welcome.
I do want to recognize something that Charlene has said. I don't know if you all have seen it, but to think about also the age groups. I don't know if they are grouped by age, but I don't know if that would be helpful for other people as well.
I think that would be helpful, even if we
Yep.
see it by, generation. I think that would be great. How about Catherine?
I also have a question about the type of questions that are being asked during the interview. Is there a standardized question that you ask, and then there's all specific questions, or it's just a matter of randomly asking questions?
So there's a set of questions per position.
Okay. And there's no deviation from that, or there's more, does the panel have can go beyond that? And that's my question is.
If they need like follow-up clarification question, they may do that.
Okay. And do we have access to those questions? I'm talking about standardized questions, yes. Mm-hmm.
I can work on providing a sampling of those interview
Very
questions.
good. Thank you.
Helena, can we see again the list of sites where jobs are posted?
Oh, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? My audio was cutting out.
Can we see again the slide with the list of where jobs are posted?
Sure.
Here you go.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Joanne, why are we gonna do this though?
I like Dr. Kyle's, Commissioner Kyle's question about the turnovers. Can we see that breakdown again as well? 'Cause I was curious about that too, especially with the numbers were kind of interesting to me.
Okay. Are you seeing that slide now, Charlene?
Yes, yeah. Even though the male turnover is 91%, that might not be that many people though.
So the intent of my question, I'm sorry, was it also sometimes useful to figure out why individuals are leaving, to see, is it things such as salaries, is it other opportunities, or are there bias issues that are existing that are asking or pushing people to kind of make that exit? So just trying to see if there's any qualitative data that can just be found from that. And I mean, at this point, we probably don't, but you know, is there a possibility to implement what would be like an exit interview process for individuals who are leaving?
Yeah. And I, the data that we may have, I'll look, and if we have anything, I'll make sure that gets sent your way.
Carlene, I know you've said this multiple times, and once you say it again, I'm going to remember it the next time. Of the total workforce, how many of that includes police department personnel?
So the total number in the police department?
Of this total workforce number here, I see 72. How many police department personnel are included with that number?
98
98
individuals.
Okay, thank you. I will remember it from now on.
Catherine, any thoughts from you or any questions, or have we covered what was on your mind?
No, I think I have a question. Can you guys hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, I have a question regarding when people are interviewed and if they don't get the job, are they notified? I don't know whether this is legal. Are they notified when they don't get the job, or are they given a reason why? You know, because I know when I've looked for jobs, sometimes, you know, it feels like you don't get the job, you don't hear anything, and you don't know why you didn't get the job. So wanted to find out if that is something that is done.
So we do send a notification to everyone who applies that's no longer being considered, but it's a general notification letting them know that they're no longer being considered.
Okay.
Unless they went through the interview process, then we'll tailor it. Thanks for interviewing.
That's good. Thank you.
I'm checking the Helene, I don't know if you can see the chat box. I'm just checking there too to see if there's anything that you haven't already addressed.
Okay, I have a question. Are there exit interviews conducted when people leave?
We do. That's kind of more of a manual process, but we do talk to individuals.
And any of the data,
if they would like to sit down and have that discussion.
does it happen frequently, or?
It just depends on the individual.
Right. Okay. And that information that is obtained from the exit interview, is that recorded anywhere?
It's recorded manually. So I would need to look and like I said, I'll see if I'm able to compile that for some potential data for you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Helena, I guess I had another question. Oftentimes when HR have employee issues, they have data on reprimand, they have data on people that may have been given warnings. Do y'all store any data? Do y'all retain any data pertaining to personnel matter where they may have been reprimanded or given warning or time off without pay? Or how do y'all classify that? What do y'all call it? I'm not an HR professional. How is that classified?
So any disciplinary would go into their personnel file. That would just be housed there.
On a high level, is that something very high level, not detailed? Is it something that you can categorize for this committee?
I would need to look into that and I can get back with you.
Okay.
I think what he's saying, Helena, is you know how when a person exits, I'm assuming with your exiting system, like I know you have an ATS, but just where someone goes in and let's just say they're leaving for personal reasons or what have you, like we're just looking for the categorization of the percentages of why people have left, not necessarily the stories behind it, because I do realize that there's privacy, you know, matters as well, but it's more so that high level data that John's referring to.
Okay.
And question for you, I think this will be helpful for the group. And, you know, I think from the questions, this is not only for Helena, but this from the group, you know, these questions are great because the good thing about it is it helps us to think about, you know, our goal is to help bring recommendations forward. And so these questions are really good. And, you know, so thank you for your grace and receiving them and willingness to help us to dig deeper. So we, you know, there's certainly a lot of work ahead, but this all helps us so that we know how we can also be helpful to the city and helpful in this role as a committee. But I think one of the things I had a question about was what's on you all? So I know you said it's a team of two, so it sounds like you all are the talent acquisition team, you're the HR team, like you're everything. You don't outsource any aspects of, okay. So as you're thinking about, you know, the opportunity with working with this particular committee, and I know you said that there are plans ahead to review the handbook and make recommendations and things of that nature. I think it would be great if the committee could hear from you. What are you all already contemplating so that as we're thinking about recommendations to help move forward and bring forward, it's great to know if we're thinking the same, or we can just add that to the list of like, that's great, they're already contemplating that, so we'll bring these other recommendations. But it would just be nice to hear what's on your mind and how you think this committee can best serve your department as well.
Okay. I can get with Rick on that and send that to you.
Okay. Okay. All right, before we kind of move on and start to talk about, there's two other things to kind of talk about is really understanding where you all's passions are. So there's kind of a couple different tracks that we could go down. One is hiring, and I would say the other is retention. I think, you know, having two committees within this committee so that we can kind of conquer and divide makes sense, but I'm open to recommendations on how you see breaking that out, if that makes sense. Do you want to do it differently? And then the other thing we'll want to talk about is our meeting cadence. How often do you want to meet? Is 6 o'clock work? Do you prefer the weekend? Do you want to meet longer? So that we can, you know, make sure that these meetings hopefully are, you know, most ideal for the majority of us. I do know we have a few missing this evening, but we do want to be very conscious of that. But before we kind of dive into, you know, where your passions are and where you want to delve into more data, any other questions for Helena? Any questions for just us as a group, or William and I as well.
So, Tawan, if I could I'm just curious around your experience, Helena. Are you seeing a robust pool of diverse candidates come in for positions? Are you seeing a robust pool being hired? I mean, just experience now. This isn't, you can go back and get the numbers, but what are you seeing? You're putting in these different vehicles. Are they sending you candidates? I'm just curious about that.
I think they're sending us candidates. Depending on the position, you maybe have to have a different strategy to make sure that you're getting that diversity that you're looking for, and that you're not missing a certain group of individuals. And sometimes if the data isn't matching what you're looking for, you definitely have to look at a different strategy to make sure that you are continuing to build that diverse pool.
But you're feeling like you're getting, for the most part, diverse pools across job classifications.
For the most part, I think some positions might be a little bit more challenging than others, but that's when.
Any other questions, Leslie?
Yeah, just one more. I actually got a page, but it's all good. And y'all hit most of them. But the only other one I would guess is a lot of the questions referred to, who does the hiring, what does the panel look like, where are the questions, and so forth. I guess I'm curious as to how you prepare your hiring managers. How do you get people ready to hire people into the city? How do you evaluate that? Are hiring managers evaluated based on their turnover? Like, how does that process work of getting people ready? And is there any role of HR officially in monitoring that?
So with all of the interviewing, one of us are part of that interview process, as well as part of the panel. And so we do sit down and go through kind of the do's and don'ts of interviewing with anyone who is part of an interview panel, and make sure that they have the resources that they need, and also reconfirm that we are sticking to the interview questions that are of hand and stuff like that. So we do have those conversations and sit downs before interviewing, but both either Rick or I sit on any interview panel.
Madam Co-Chair and Mr. Co-Chair, I do have one more question. And Helena, thank you and Rick for your hard work in pulling the data for this committee. I think this is so important as we look at hiring and retention. Once we have employees in place, is there any type of incentive program to reward good performing employees, or anything to recognize employees for outstanding performance? Is there something like that in place? And I apologize if that's in the document that our co-chairs have sent us for homework. I'll confess, I haven't read the documents yet. So if it's in the documents, you can just say that, but I just wanted to know, is there anything in place like that at the city?
So we do have a merit process, which is performance evaluation based. So if merit is budgeted in a calendar year, an individual, every position is considered benefit or merit benefit eligible. And so if funds are available for merit, that review happens, and it is connected to an individual's performance evaluation.
So that's on the pay grade dollars. I'm just saying, are there any programs for incentives, such as Jalyssa's doing a great job for us, and one of these days I'm going to take Jalissa to lunch because she's doing such a great job for the overall committee. And there are certain things that can be done. When we were on the planning commission, Patrice provided dinner for the entire planning commission during our break. Is there anything like of that nature that the cities provides to employees that are performing exceptionally well, other than money. Money is great, don't get me wrong. Jalissa probably would prefer money over lunch, but sometimes just that little kind gesture really contributes to the retention beyond salary.
There is nothing officially like that. There may be something that may happen in the departments, but we don't have an official program. Probably, the closest of maybe getting a lunch provided is we do have a wellness reward program where we do host lunch and learns where lunch is provided for individuals when we're in person. So virtually, we have not provided that.
Okay, thank you.
And do you all do an annual employee survey? Just to understand, no? Okay.
We do not. Probably the closest annual survey we do is it pertains to the wellness program.
Okay.
I have a question. As it pertains to hiring, when opportunities, for example, if a promotional type opportunity, whether it's up to a manager or a director, do those positions have to be posted for the public, or can they be filled within Brookhaven first and then open to the public?
I'm going to go ahead and use kind of like our police department as an example for that question. So if a sergeant position becomes available, they do have a process where they would manage the candidates internally. They have a sergeant promotion process. And if they're not able to identify a candidate within, then they would post externally.
Thank you.
And just one piece of data just to add to your list, maybe I overlooked it. Can you also maybe provide, which would be helpful, an understanding of how many people managers you have? So those who actually manage a team, that would be helpful. Okay. Yeah.
And could I ask, and this may have been clear and I might have missed it, in addition to the questions around the full-time and part-time role, but also, it was in the chat, but also just the job classification. So most of the part-time roles are X, and of these X, is there a grouping in particular of, that doesn't reflect Brookhaven demographics, in the management classification or supervisor, look at those statistics. So really just kind of a little bit of the putting together of data points to really try to get a picture or a story from it. And thank you. I'm sorry, this got to be a lot. So let me just say I know. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we kind of dive into how we want to kind of split up our work, if you will? We'll still be together as one, but just to kind of get through this body of work, I think it'll be best that we break into teams, if you will. So any other questions before we talk about that?
Elena, is there like an organizational breakout? It may be available on the city website, I don't know, where you've got all the different departments listed, how many employees are in each department. I know that the police department's the biggest employer, so we end up talking about them a lot, but I'd like to see, with folks with the parks and all that, the different departments, how those are broken out and what the number of employees is there, so we can help us. I think that would help us analyze some of this raw data we're going to get from you as well.
Okay, I can pull the organizational chart and include that in the data that I'm submitting as well.
I just dropped the organizational chart link on our website on the chat for you guys.
Perfect, thank you.
So Herlina, the city just went under the hiring of several Parks and Recreation Department employees. What may be helpful for the committee, because that's going to skew the data. And I look at the hirees, and they look to be 75% Black and brown employees. So it's probably going to skew the data. So it may be helpful to align the dates with the employment numbers. So that will help the committee understand when the uptick or the curve, the bell, started shaping up.
Yeah.
You can apply the dates with the actual numbers. That'll be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point because it speaks to the breakout that Charlene was speaking of earlier. So if you put all that on one page, that would be really, really helpful. All right. Well, like I said, I know we have a few committee members not able to attend this evening, so we'll certainly, per usual, the notes will go out and we'll make sure that we reach out to them as well to see where their area of interest is. But does everyone feel that that's a good kind of splitting point, if you will, that some can kind of help dig into the hiring and then others can help dig into the retention aspects? Or would you like to see that a little bit different?
I have no problem with that. It's good to, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. All right. So for the hiring, who wants to focus on that? Who wants to volunteer? And we'll still meet as a committee, if you will, but just so that I have an idea of, who wants to focus on that. Just raise your hand in the thing, or just say, I'm happy to do it. I'll check the chat as well. Hiring is not popular. So let's start with retention. Let's do that. Who wants to do retention?
Nobody.
Oh, come on. I know these are tough decisions. I'm just going to let everybody process it.
Are you trying to divide the group into both hiring and retention, correct?
It's just so that we can get through the work, because if
Right.
we're all focused on the same thing, it'll just be tough to really.
Right. I'm sorry, what is the how many are in the group actually?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 total.
So you want it to be a deal to have 5 and 5, I suppose, right?
I don't like to set a preset number. I mean, I believe in playing to people's passions and strengths.
Right,
And,
right.
if more people have more passion and strength on the retention and we have 3 or 4 people focused on the hiring, I'm okay with that.
Well, I will say that Charlene and I both raised our hand when you said retention, and she put it in the chat as well. Charlene, I don't want to speak for you. I just saw you also put it there, and we did the same thing.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll volunteer. Yeah, I'll volunteer for hiring.
Okay.
Ruben Cruz.
Got it.
I'll volunteer for hiring.
Perfect. And then we'll tap the other committee members and ask them to choose as well. So, William and I will kind of get together off behind the scenes, if you will, and think through how we want to kind of make sure that, we all kind of move together, but separate at the same time, and then bring it all back together again. Helena will be a big resource for us. So bear with us as we kind of, like I said, get the rest of the committee members for these additional subgroups, if you will, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. The good thing is we've given Helena, I think, a page and a half of homework. So more data to come. What I'm going to suggest we do is all get comfortable And if you have not already downloaded Basecamp, I strongly encourage you to do so. The reason I say that is I felt terrible having to attach 10 attachments to an email. We all know we cringe when those amount of attachments come across an email. So I do want to try to be as efficient as possible. And we want to leverage the tools that the city has provided us to do that. So going forward, that's where we'll look to put, I would say, the chunks of data, if you will, and then we'll still stick to email for basics. But I would say anything over 2 attachments, we'll definitely lean more on Basecamp. And that way everything's centralized as well, and you can get to them whenever you need to. If I can recall, John, remind me, there's a Basecamp training. Is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes.
Yes, tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow, 5:30, if I don't have my times mixed up, but yeah.
And thank you for putting that together, Jalissa.
Perfect.
Yes.
Are we gonna get a link for that too tomorrow, ahead of time, or
Yeah,
is there a
I'm
link
sorry,
already?
I misspoke and said 5:30. It's 5, and then I'll send everybody a reminder tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Okay, perfect. And then as far as meeting, does this time work for everyone? Is there a day that's just, almost non-negotiable? I know we took a chance with doing this on a Monday, but we had to get started. But would love to hear from you all. Do you have any preferences?
Can I say something real quick before that? The second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday of the month are city council meetings. So those are like, for example, tomorrow is a city council meeting. So those Tuesdays are usually like not good. But besides that, you guys can choose.
Okay.
I know the Vision and Mission Committee established the first Thursday of the month, and Procurement and Contracting established the second Monday of the month at 7 to 8. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Monday can
Monday.
work for me, but later. Start time maybe 7, 6 is hard.
Okay.
I was just going to say what it makes, and I think I wrote this in an email because I know there are people that aren't here. Would it be best for us to do some kind of poll to kind of figure out when is good for everyone? Because I know we have several people that are not at the meetings. I don't know if there's the 6 o'clock time frame.
Yeah, we can look at doing that. I know that forget the name of the polling service. If anyone knows off the top of their head. Doodle.
When is
Yes.
good? Yep.
Doodle. Okay. Okay. That's a good suggestion. I just figured since we had some folks on the call just to get some sentiments, but yeah, we can just go about it that way just for the sake of time.
I'm open with what time works for everyone.
Okay.
I'm open.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we'll throw a few dates or times and some sort of rotation as suggestions, and people can just vote on it, and we'll just go with the majority. So we'll get that out. William, anything else you want to cover?
No, I don't think so. We've got Helena definitely plenty of work to do to get us information, and yeah, I think we just need to establish, come up with a date and stick to it, so we can get on the calendar going forward to plan around, and we'll just find out from everybody what works best. But I agree too that probably 7 o'clock is going to work better for me more times than 6. 6 is a little bit of a challenge.
Okay.
7 is fine with me.
All right, perfect. Anything else from the committee? Any feedback about meeting number 1? We did it. But any feedback, certainly open to, I always say feedback is a gift. Anything you'd like to see different moving forward, I would love to get your feedback. Did this format work for everyone?
It worked well for me. I think it was we had good discussions. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll try to stick with an hour. We realize that very long Zoom meetings on top of a workday are really hard. So we'll definitely, William and I were talking about that, and we said, we think an hour is good. We know how adult learners are, and we tend to zone out, don't we?
Yeah.
So we'll be mindful of that for sure. And with that, I mean, look at this. It is 6:48. You get the gift
Finish
of
early.
time back. Jalissa and team get to, actually have a bathroom break before the next meeting. So awesome.
Right.
Well, Helena, thank you so much for the data overview. We appreciate it and look forward to partnering with you throughout this journey. Certainly Leslie and John, I know you all are supporting us as well. So we appreciate all that you all are doing. Thank you very much. And we will be in touch, and we'll see you at the next meeting. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, at the base camp. And then we have another meeting on Thursday. John is putting us to work, y'all. I just want y'all to know.
That's a lot of work.
And I really appreciate it. I really do.
John, they're gonna want to know about your incentive program in a
Right.
minute.
It's
Where
coming.
are you taking us out to dinner, huh?
It's coming. It's coming. Trust me.
If you guys can't make the meeting tomorrow, don't worry. I'll record it and then I'll share the video with everybody. And you can always feel free to ask me questions.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right, take
Thank you
care.
all.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Good evening.
Bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.